A very popular form of mixed media is mixing watercolor with ink. In this case, I have a fountain pen filled with ink, and I'm using a technique called contour drawing because I'm not lifting my pen from the paper, except that at some point I will. So this is a modified contour drawing. So there, for example, I lifted it. This style is inspired by medieval mosaics. And when you're happy with your drawing, you can go realistic or a little bit crazy with your watercolor part. Knowing your colors is very important when you paint in watercolor, especially. So you have, of course, the three primary colors: yellow, blue, and red. And then you have three secondary colors: red mixed with yellow, which makes orange; yellow mixed with blue, which makes green; and blue mixed with red, which makes purple. A rainbow can be a wonderful way of practicing your primary and secondary colors. And then when it's dry, you can do another layer to intensify the colors. Watercolor paints are made of pigment, but you can also make certain paints out of botanical dyes. And this is a dye called logwood, also known as Campeche wood. And it is very sensitive to changes in the pH. So I just added lemon there, and here I'm adding alum, and here I'm adding iron, and here I'm adding copper. And as you can see, the color changes. And the interesting thing here is that the iron is a mordant. It's used in dyeing clothes, and this is the color. The Campeche with the iron mordant is what was used by the pilgrims to dye their clothes black. What's your favorite? A wonderful way of playing with color is to paint your own galaxy. And I like to make my galaxies round and enjoy how the colors play with each other. I recommend you start small, because as you want to make it rounder, I end up making it bigger. If you want the colors to be stronger, you can always do another layer of very thin paint. It's called glazing. And when everything is dry, if you like, you could sprinkle some gold. Among the plants used to make paints, certainly indigo is the best known. And these are two different kinds of indigo that I made, because indigo is a plant that comes in many different varieties. This is Indigofera guatemalensis, and it comes from a farm in El Salvador. And a while back I made this Indigofera tinctoria, also known as true indigo, and this one comes from a farm in Nepal. And you can see that they're different. This Indigofera tinctoria is more purplish. It's a warmer blue, and the Indigofera guatemalensis is a cooler blue. As I mentioned, you can mix blue and yellow to make a green. Look how lovely that is. And you can mix red and yellow to make an orange. But because watercolor is a transparent medium, you can also obtain an orange by glazing, that is, painting a very thin layer of yellow over a dried wash of red, or painting a very thin layer of yellow over a dried wash of blue. Or you can paint a very thin layer of blue over a dry wash of yellow, or you can paint a very thin layer of red over a dried wash of yellow. So you end up with slightly different colors using the very same paints. Chinese brush painting is very different from traditional Western watercolor. It uses different materials, different paper, different brushes, different paints. But we have so much to learn from it, and most obviously what we can learn is the command of the brush. So here I am doing a painting of what is known as the orchid, one of the standard patterns for learning traditional brush painting. But I'm using Western materials. When you paint with watercolor, it's also important to distinguish between cool and warm primary colors. This is a cool yellow, and this is a warm yellow. A cool yellow veers towards green, a warm yellow veers towards orange. This is a cool red, and this is a warm red. A cool red veers towards violet, and a warm red veers towards orange. This is a warm blue, ultramarine blue, and this is a cool blue. A cool blue is closer to green, a warm blue is closer to violet. Because as we've seen, a cool blue veers to green, it's going to make a much brighter green when you mix it with a cool yellow than would a warm blue when you mix it with that same cool yellow. It's going to be a more muted green. Even more muted if you mix this blue, ultramarine blue, warm blue, with a warm yellow, such as a gamboge yellow, which is going to be more muted than a cool yellow when you mix it with a cool blue, but not as muted as with a warm blue.